Jellystone.
Jellystone.
Specifically, specifically the episode that they just released, Crisis on Infinite Mirths, which is basically the cast of Jellystone meeting up with a cavalcade of classic Cartoon Network characters.
Yes. And confession time. I've never heard of this show. I didn't know it existed because, well, I'm not the target demographic.
I don't know who the target demographic of this thing is.
Yeah.
All right. So back a little bit of backstory, because I tried to watch an episode besides the one we actually reviewed. Emphasis on tried. Um, so this show is basically a mashup of a bunch of classic Hanna-Barbera characters that they otherwise weren't really doing anything with. Um, and Warner Brothers slash Cartoon Network has always had an interesting relationship with their Hanna-Barbera canon, because my understanding is that the very origins of Cartoon Network were that that Turner somehow managed to get his hands on the Hanna-Barbera catalog when they went under, and he said, "Well, what now would I do with it?"
Yeah. And Arcos asks, "What's the Yogi Bear abomination?"
Yeah,
Yes.
getting there.
Yeah.
So, uh, and it's like usually the classic Hanna-Barbera stuff is used as fodder for Adult Swim. So you'll have things like C Lab 2021 or whatnot that are just hacked up episodes. You'll have things like Harvey Birdman, which are just they'll bring in a exaggerated, crazy version of these different characters into the show.
Yeah.
But they haven't really, and I was kind of startled to see this. The last time that Yogi Bear and a lot of these characters headlined a show was 1991's Yo Yogi, which I've never subjected myself to an episode of that I can recall, but it was in the same vein as Flintstones Kids and a pup named Scooby Doo. But everyone was hung out at Jellystone Mall. They were hip teenagers from 1991, as interpreted by animation executives. So,
Yeah. Oh
and every
boy.
episode they would have some sort of. I don't understand exactly how this was supposed to work, but it's like you were supposed to have like a 3D glasses to understand or to be able to see properly what was happening. And apparently, as a gimmick went, it just miserably failed.
I have a vague recollection of that. Yeah. I have I never watched it, but I kind of recall it.
I recall hearing about that gimmick, but
Yeah.
so let's just say that the canon wasn't in a good place.
Yeah.
And so for HBO Max, well, this has apparently been on for 3 seasons, flying under my radar completely.
Yeah, me too.
I think I was faintly aware. Yeah, I was faintly aware that the show existed because I had seen a clip that. And what I will say about the creators of the show is that they do have a appreciation for the animation that went before them and enjoy references. They had some sort of Space Ghost convention, and I saw a clip with the original voice of Brack as Brack.
Oh, wow.
They had the recently passed voice of Space Ghost come in to reprise his role.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
Rest in peace. Yeah.
yeah, his was let's see, what was his name again?
Oh, um, Tim or
It just happened last week.
yeah,
George Lowe.
George. Oh, yeah.
He had a voice that I could always pick out of a like anything. It's like, well, if I was watching a commercial, either the voiceover, I'd just perk up and go, "Oh, that's Space Ghost," which just shows
Yeah.
you how distinctive his voice is.
Yeah. Yeah. I had the same reaction with Peter Cullen. Every time I hear him, like, that's Optimus Prime.
But so Jellystone here is it's basically a mashup of that whole Hanna-Barbera Saturday morning cartoon canon into, and they're all living in the town of Jellystone. And the reason I started up an episode and couldn't finish it was I realized exactly what they had done with it. And it's basically my big criticism of a lot of modern writing, which is basically Hey, you millennials, do you have a boring humdrum life? Well, now your cartoon characters do too.
Yeah.
I specifically picked out the highest rated episode to watch, and the premise of the episode is that Yogi has his little buddy Boo Boo, Top Cat has his little buddy Benjamin Ball, and they don't appreciate their friends. So Boo Boo and Ball meet, and they become best friends. And they were treating being best friends so I met somebody. Well, dish, says Yogi.
Oh, jeez.
And it was just very dull, and I could kind of see where the episode was going in advance, because like, okay, what's gonna happen is that Yogi and Top Cat mistreat their little buddy sidekicks, and they're gonna go off and be with each other, and they're gonna get jealous, and by the end of the episode it's all gonna go back to normal. And and I wasn't enjoying the moment to moment of it. Like, not that
Yeah.
that's an awful idea for a premise, but still,
Yeah. Yeah.
just the execution wasn't there.
Mm.
And but I picked up that from like little clips I had seen, that they did some unusual things with the cast, on top of the Cal Arts makeover.
Yeah. Yeah. What was specifically with like Yogi Bear? I mean, they basically made him like Peter Griffin, only slightly more, only dumber.
He's Patrick Star. That's who he is. He's
Okay.
Patrick Star. That
Uh,
it just hit me right now. Like he's dumb. And he's a food monster,
yeah.
and yet he's also a doctor somehow.
Uh,
None of the episodes or clips I saw actually featured him doctoring, so I don't know.
yeah.
Um, what I will say about the show is that I get the desire to tweak the characters a little bit, because honestly, a lot of those characters aren't necessarily the deepest people. It's like, if you're having to make a
Uh,
whole show out of their interactions, you're going to want to come up with some things to differentiate them.
yeah. Yeah.
They also did some things where they gender bent a few characters, which, again, that's very male dominated cast. If you want to have a whole town populated, I'm not going to get upset about Augie Doggy suddenly being Doggy Daddy's daughter.
Yeah.
I'll be mildly unhappy about Jabberjaw suddenly sounding like a brassy comedy woman, but
Yeah.
when what everybody remembers about Jabberjaw is the Three Stooges bit.
Oh. Well, yeah, and you also have uh, Huckleberry Hounds, who's the mayor of the town, mayor of Jellystone, sounding like a gay Matthew McConaughey.
And with the personality of a toned down Mr. Burns, combined with the king with the king, excuse me, with the mayor of Townsville from Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like vaguely corrupt and lazy. And that is not Huckleberry Hound at all. Like, dude was like, that was part of the joke, was that he was how earnest and steadfast he was.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, but to get to the specific episode, um a they the town discovers that there's a rift in the space-time continuum. It's just a big hole right outside of the town, and characters from other cartoon universes are popping up. Specifically, we meet who was the first one? Was it
Let's see here. I forget. Let's see here. I think Mojo Jojo. So the first three that showed up were Mojo Jojo from Powerpuff Girls,
right? Yeah,
Beatty from Dexter's Lab, and Billy from Billy and Mandy.
yeah. And they each tell the specific circumstances for how they got there. The Powerpuff Girls punched Mojo Jojo into another universe, literally. And
Because
they
they're
said
tired
that,
of dealing with him all the time.
yeah. And then Dexter sent Dee Dee accidentally, quote unquote, to another universe, along with the rest of his trash.
Yeah.
And then what was the third one? Uh,
Billy kept insisting on watching of all things, a Justice Friends episode that was a minor bit from Dexter's Lab that was recurring.
oh yeah, and the Grim Reaper sends him to another universe.
Yep. So it's a classic sort of, weirdly, it's almost a classic superhero crossover where they meet, fight, make up, save the day.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough, they ship Mojo Jojo with Cindy the Bear.
Yeah.
Where this version of Cindy Bear is like, you can tell that the show was conceived of probably sometime in 2019 or 2020 because she's the science girl. Like she's the smartest one around, even though because the writers aren't necessarily, they're either writing down to dumb kids or they aren't especially knowledgeable. Their attempts at sounding smart didn't actually sound very smart.
Yeah.
But like the way I'll put it is that she's a STEM sad cat lady. Because like there's no way this version of Yogi Bear is any sort of love interest for anybody.
No. You can barely put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, basically. And again, like I get the desire to give Cindy something besides being in love with Yogi and always trying to get with him.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is it, Chief.
No.
Now, if I ignore that anything I know from a childhood of watching these cartoons and just accept her as a character, it is mildly amusing that her soulmate is a supervillain from another universe.
Yeah.
Arco says, can't wait for gender bent Johnny Bravo to hit on every guy in town and fail miserably while doing exciting activities like buying groceries. He actually was gender bent in one episode, like some witch turned him into a woman.
Oh.
I don't think I've ever actually seen the episode, but I've heard references to it.
Yeah.
But anyhow, and Arcus also says, never understood why modern writing has lost the ability to understand escapism. Why, yes, my life is humdrum and boring. Why would I also want to watch someone else live the same thing?
Yeah. I don't want to watch. I don't want to watch my favorite characters, doing their taxes.
See, I think you could actually make a good like 6-minute Bugs Bunny cartoon out of him trying to avoid taxes. Maybe that sounds more like a Daffy Duck problem to run into.
Yeah. That's more Daffy. Yeah. Why do I have to pay taxes?
Oh no, April 16th.
Yeah. I didn't file.
Quick. Well, what can I deduct?
Yeah.
We're sort of undercutting our thing here. Now, from a production standpoint, like I said, this is very CalArts, and what's weird is that when they have like long distance shots, the characters get very undetailed, which is not something you usually expect to see in a 2D cartoon in this year.
Yeah. Which tells me this was very lazily animated.
Or they didn't have a lot of time.
Or yeah, that too.
Like I'm going to be fair. HBO Max, this is probably a rights retainer cartoon deep down, and HBO Max probably didn't throw a lot of resources at them.
Yeah. Bit like the Lord of the Rings animated movie.
Yeah, actually, yeah, probably kind of a similar mindset.
Yeah.
But as far as the actual episode went, it was like okay. It was kind of nice to hear that they brought back the voice actors and actresses where they were still alive. I said, wait, why does Dexter sound wrong? Oh no, I think I heard something about that. And I got sad to hear that once again that his voice actress had passed away a while back.
Yeah. What was her name? Christine Cavanaugh, I think was her name.
That sounds right.
Yeah, she did like she was like Chucky on Rugrats.
Oh yeah, and wasn't she also Goslin on Darkwing Duck?
Yes.
Yeah, so yeah, great voice actress taken before her time.
Yeah.
But the person they had in there was just not the same. But that doesn't mean they did a bad job.
Yeah.
Basically, this thing was a big pile of member berries. If you watched Cartoon Network in the late '90s and early 2000s, I think the latest they went with the references was like Chowder.
Oh yeah, Chowder. Yeah.
They had some of that in there. They also had some cartoons that just did not last. Like they had like that one Squirrel Guy cartoon that lasted a season and nobody remembers.
Oh yeah.
Like I think it's because the voice actor was the same one as for Billy, so they could bring him in easily. He was like weirdly prominent for like 20 seconds of episode.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then God, what else did they oh yeah, they had the Kids Next Door. The
Oh,
Codename
right,
Kids
right,
Next
yeah.
Door. Yeah.
Yes, that's about their cutoff was like 2009 or so, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if she was Simpsons voice actress Soth. I think I know that they recently with the person who had been the voice of Minnie Mouse forever was also Martin and a few other people, and they had to recast him.
Oh yeah.
But and also Slaw says tax avoidance is a Daffy problem. Elmer Fudd and Bugs Bunny would be the IRS agents auditing him. Could be Porky too if you wanted it to be like about the IRS agents getting like stymied.
Yeah. uh,
But okay, our hypothetical Daffy Duck gets audited episode already sounds better than this was.
yeah.
Animation wise, they did a decent job capturing the look of all the shows that everybody came from. The only
Yeah.
one that really just did not work was Samurai Jack because it was like weirdly like he was too mobile. Like that show was very much about like static images that barely moved and very
Yeah.
minimal animation. So it looked weird seeing him actually like fluidly moving for the few seconds he was around.
Yeah, that was a little odd. Yeah.
But otherwise, like the new characters were visually good. It's just it was kind of interesting to see some. I'll describe this as the animators clearly have an appreciation for the classic cartoons of that preceded them. Not the same level of creator, unfortunately.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
But at least they don't hate it. Like there was no sign in my mind that they actually hated what was going on. So that's sadly a step up from a lot of modern remakes and crossovers.
Yeah, that's true. They didn't. They actually cared about the original source material as opposed to denigrating it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, Crisis on Infinite Mirths. I just happened to see a trailer that someone posted in one of the discords I'm in. Got morbidly curious. Now I know why I've never heard anybody talk about this show.
Yeah. It's just like, eh.
Because I don't think kids would like it because they wouldn't know who the characters were. And I think that the adults who would remember it and would remember the Cartoon Network shows they were crossing over with
Yeah.
would also find it kind of stupid.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's a major miss.
Yeah.